Hey everyone, it's Will, Gamer Dad, with another video for you. So in this video, I'm going to discuss the Rainbow Drop, which guarantees a 5-star from a particular element. Of course, there are 4 elements to choose from: fire, earth, water, and wind. So none of the 3 new lunatic elements. So hopefully this video gives you some ideas of which element to go for. If you bring up the fire one, you can see that you can summon from Hardy, Radiance, Lovely, Rosetta, Radika, both forms of Shion, Akane, Sakia, Renri both forms, Hozuki, Seti both forms, and Yuen. So all AS versions of the fire units available up to 2.4.4 are also all available. And this will go the same for all the other elements as well. Now, if you bring up the next one, in this case it's going to be water, you have a choice of Zaviro, his Mina, Philo, Shigiri, both forms of Melina, AS Nikke, Dewey, Shani, Yuna, Leclerc, Mighty, and Annabelle. Keep in mind when I say you can choose from, it's you can choose the element, but one random 5-star will drop out of it. Now for wind, you got quite a bit of stacked characters here. Aoife, Cynthia, Kikyo, Dunarith, Biaka, Alulu, both forms of Claude, Iska, Suzette, and so on and so forth. And finally for earth, you got Tiramisu, of course, and Mayumfa, Primaya, Tsubami, Myris, and the rest of those there. So quite a few awesome ones to choose from, obviously from the beginning of the game up to 2.4.4. So quite a bit of variety in terms of, more powerful, or some of the more original characters where they have been power creeped to some extent, unfortunately. Keep in mind that even though you have 4 different banners to choose from, you only do have the one rainbow drop. So once you choose one of the 4 elements, the rest of the choices will disappear. Now this video is a little bit different than the usual should you summon videos, since you definitely should use this rainbow drop. I do believe you can hold onto the rainbow drop for a while, but there is an expiry. But my recommendation on using it depends on how many chronostones you currently have. If you have a lot of stones and are planning to summon, you can try summoning on regular or your fateful banners first, then decide which element you have the most 5-star units you are needing and wanting. However, for people like myself who are most likely pulling on tonight's Hina Felmina banner, you can consider using the rainbow drop first on wind to see if you get Felmina. If you do, you can opt out and save your stones for a future banner, especially if you're free to play like myself. Likewise, if you have no stones at all because you spent on previous banners, you might as well use the rainbow drop to add a nice 5-star to your roster. So of course the most important question of all is, which element to summon on? Well, of course the answer is very similar to pulling on other banners. Where are you lacking the most in? So I'll try to summarize each element. Now for fire, the most powerful units, or the ones that you should be focusing on in my opinion, are Yuen, since it unlocks AS Yuen in the future, Sukiya, same reason, OG and AS Renri. Now the OG one is obviously for a non-elemental slash team, and the AS Renri is for a powerful fire slash unit. Hozuki can be targeted because she does have AS Hozuki in the future. Radiance, of course, is a great slash zone setter with shield and debuffs. I mean, the others aren't bad, but Hardy, even in my opinion, is only alright, since I personally find that AS Giryu is sufficient for my fire zone. For water, you'd be aiming for the 2 water zone setters, AS Annabelle and Yuna. You can also go for Melina for her ES in the future. Shigiri, because he will be a future AS unit with water zone capabilities. His Mina, she and her AS form in the future are extremely powerful. And of course, if you're aiming for one of the lesser characters, there are those as well. For Earth, of course, AS Tuva with her manifest version nowadays is great. She can now debuff while doing some stacks, so that's very powerful. AS Nagi, of course, both versions of Myris, since one is a top tier Earth healer and one is a top tier magic DPS. Elga, and her OG, of course, is a top tier non-elemental slash DPS. You've seen me use her in a multitude of battles against some of the toughest bosses in the game. Mayumfa, of course, is our only Earth Zone setter, so she is definitely a priority if you don't already have her. Tiramisu is good for mob clears, and Seal AS is a top tier DPS, but you can farm his 3 DCs. Keep in mind that when we are talking about these units and what to aim for, we're trying to aim for ones you don't already have, of course. I mean, if you get a dupe, I guess that's great for the extra light or shadow, but I mean, we're trying to unlock more and more, mechanics for our team, for example, or just fill in a hole. So a dupe at this point probably won't be what you're looking for. Now finally, for wind, both Suzettes, of course, are top wind pierce DPS, and of course my waifu, so honorable mention right there. Felmina, of course, top tier blunt wind DPS. Claude, both versions are great. Normal style Manifest is a top pierce debuff and support, and of course the AS version is a wind zone setter. AS Vena is another wind zone setter, which is really good. And Alulu is there. She has an AS version in the future for Slash Zone. Dunerith is a great wind support healer, and his AS in the future is a top tier magic DPS. Kiko, of course, can clone and definitely take a hit. And Yifa, finally, is our only current blunt zone in Japan as well as global. So, a long list of names to go over. And overall, the answer, again, really depends on which you require the most of. So I would always recommend targeting elemental and weapon zone setters first, then support, then DPS. The reason for that is that I find that DPS units are easier to replace, since there's already power creep as newer units come out. Remember that when evaluating which units to go for, you really want a unit to perform 2 or more roles on a team. For example, support and DPS, or zone setter and support, etc, etc. Now for more info, watch my video discussing my summoning plans that I published a few months ago. I'll leave a link below in the description, and even though that video was published a few months ago, most of the same principles apply in my evaluation of so-called talent when drafting 5-star units in order to add to my roster. I didn't mention this earlier, although I alluded to it. Of course, when using this particular rainbow drop, it is extremely rare and we don't get this very often. So make sure you use it on not only for evaluating the talent that you can go for in terms of the powerful 5-star units, also you have to evaluate how many of the units you don't have in a particular element, and that should weigh in as part of the equation in establishing which one to pull for. Now for myself, for example, I've counted and wind seems to be the area where I'm missing the most units. So unless something amazing changes, I most likely will be pulling on wind, and if I do, I will show the results of that summon later on this evening. Otherwise, like I said, you'll have to really look at your roster and determine not only which units you really want to target for, also how many of each unit you have. And so, obviously if you have more holes, the likelihood of you hitting a dupe is also less. So keep that in mind, and that is also very valuable. Anyways, I wish you all the best in pulling for your desired unit and element. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.